Aloha, good morning. Or if you're watching this or listening to this via replay, hello, welcome. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for taking a moment out of your morning. I hope that wherever you are having a fantastic start to your day. I know I am. So grab your mug, pull up a chair, or maybe if you're already cozy, sitting in your favorite chair with a drink or a juice. Or wherever you are, I hope you're doing great. Pop in and say good morning. Good morning, Stephanie. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you here. If you are joining me live, feel free to pop in and say hi from where you are. Let me know how you're doing. Mm. So it is a very cloudy and overcast day here in Dallas, Texas. I mean, boom. I think it was Tuesday of this week. We had our last triple digit day here in Dallas. It was sunny. It was beautiful. I got out of the pool. I recorded an ode to summer sort of thing because it just felt like things were changing. And boom, we had storms, we had rain, and all of this next week we're going to have rain. In fact, it's supposed to start raining today. Listen, those of us in Texas, we are so glad to have the rain. Trust me when I say we haven't, Dallas hasn't had rainfall in almost 2 months. So we are elated to have rain. Some places in our country right now, not so happy about having rain because they've been flooded. Some places in our world right now, water levels are at a catastrophic low in their area. But here in Dallas, we are grateful for the rain. But I knew the weather was changing. I could just feel it. Have you noticed? Have you noticed even that the days are getting shorter, that evenings are ending sooner? I was looking at my Weather Channel app and I was noticing the beginning um, of the days getting shorter. If you notice in your weather app and you can scroll down and see, when the sun rises and sets, and you'll notice that the sun is rising a minute later and setting a minute earlier because we're starting our retreat away from being close to the sun. We are switching over soon from summer to fall. Seasons are definitely changing. But wherever you are, I hope you're doing great. I hope the weather is great. And even if it isn't, I hope you're doing what you have to make it great. If this is your first time to catch me live on this broadcast, you've never heard of me, you just happen to run across my broadcast because the algorithms of the platforms have been kind today. But my name is Renee Harden. By trade, I am an editor, I'm a writer, I'm a writing coach. I help people curate and craft their stories so that they can get them out there in the world, whether they are publishing them online or they're publishing them in a print form, or they're maybe publishing their own books for the first time. It's what I love to do. I love helping people really get back to understanding the importance of writing, the importance of your writing and telling your stories and however you need to. So, as I do every week, I feature a mug from my coffee cup collection, and today's mug is dedicated to those who are writing. And we're going to talk a little bit about getting back to the basics of writing. This has been a back to series that I've started because, of course, in a lot of areas, we've gone back to school. So if you started this week going to school, maybe you have kiddos that are going back to school. Maybe if you don't have kiddos, you've noticed that the traffic has picked up. Places where you drive have gotten a little busier. You've noticed moms with their kids running around. Um, yeah, when the days get shorter, you start getting sad because you're a summer baby. Me too, Stephanie. And ever since we got back from our vacation in Hawaii, seeing my island home, getting to see my family there, getting to be around um, good food and the beauty of nature, I get a little sad too. Fall and winter, I don't mind fall. My birthday is in October, so fall is fun. I'm not a winter person. I've never been a winter person. Um, the cold. The cold does bother me anyway. Maybe I need to write about that. But I hope that you'll take a moment and just sit back and relax, and let's talk about getting back to the basics and the importance of writing. Because as we go back to school, we're back at our jobs. My job is helping authors. I'm working on a fantasy fiction book right now for an author who's developing her story, crafting it, and we're working on really polishing it and getting it to the level that she wants for her intended readers, the age group she's trying to reach, the genre that she's going to be publishing her book in. So we're working on that. But I love to talk about just getting back to the easy things because believe it or not, you're writing. If you're posting every day online, you're writing. But we sort of do that impulsively, right? And we pick this up and we take a picture of what we're doing and we post it and we talk about what we're doing with a caption real quick. Hopefully, you're taking some time to be thoughtful about how you are posting things on social media. And guys, listen, with all the changes and all the kerfluffle that is going on with our social media platforms, how many of you realize, Facebook changes every day, Instagram changes every day. TikTok is becoming such a huge thing, but is that really curated and crafted stories of writing, or is it entertainment? Do we scroll because we want to be entertained? So I want to talk a little bit about getting back to the basics of writing. And if you have kids in school, this will be important because they've come off summer break. Even if you do year-round school, you're getting back to encouraging them to write. Um, how many of your kids, or even you, how much handwriting do you do? I'm not talking about typing on a keyboard or typing on your screen or your phone. I'm talking about the active activity of writing. I want to show you something really fun because I found this website when I was just playing around. I wanted to see if there was a fun way to to write. So if you have kids, or maybe this is something fun you can do. I like to share this with people that I work with because it's so important to understand that writing is not just scribbling down a bunch of words and everything. Writing is an art form. So I wanted to show you this. This is kind of fun, and hopefully you can see this, but this is a website called Autodraw.com. Can you see that? You can see Autodraw.com. Hang on just a second. I am going to, hold on, I gotta share that a little better here so you can actually see the full screen. Here we go. All right, now you can see it and it's supposed to be, oh, and hi, Myra. Oh my goodness, here's my co-pilot, my buddy, my assistant who comes in and helps. This is a website called Autodraw.com. And here's something fun that it does. So you pick a color of ink. So of course I pick purple because it's my favorite. You take your cursor over here on the screen, and as you're holding down your cursor, it draws. Oh, and I remember the days of learning handwriting and making it fun, right? Drawing and making letters, because this is so important. The tactile activity of writing, right? When I started learning handwriting, we learned something called a rainbow curve, right? A rainbow curve, a rainbow curve, a rainbow curve. This was the movement that we were taught. And then we had what we called rocker curve, rocker curve, the movement of moving up and up. It teaches us how to make our letters, right? We learn how to make letters by drawing. This is how children really learn how to use their writing to write letters, right? And they learn how to do ovals and bring a pen around. So this is a way to write online and draw. So writing is really an art that we capture, right? Um, your birthday's in December. You never get to celebrate it like you want. You were in a writing block. You were in a block last week. So you started handwriting a scene from your story. It helped open the block. Yes, Stephanie. You were having a writer's block, so you started handwriting. Yes. And so if you take a moment sometimes and you just draw, right? Maybe you draw some curly cues like this. That eventually becomes the letter M, right? Or, here, I'm going to clean all this out. And here's what's fun. This program, when you start drawing with it, and I don't know if you notice up here at the top, but it gives you pictures. Did you mean to draw this? And it gives you banana. I love that. But when you write, when you use your handwriting and you draw, and it allows your brain to see and picture what it is you're trying to do with your, whoops, oh, let's take that back. Let's start that over again. That's the fun thing about writing, is that you can do it, you can erase it, you can start over again. And because we're doing this in real time on my computer, um, I'm having to really be intentional. But do you see how all of these movements bring me to, and your brain sort of sees it. You've written it. It's a tactile action. You like you like this site. Isn't it great? It's fun, Stephanie. And it's a great way for kids to learn how to write, because, and it also helps parents, because how do you, in the digital age with keyboarding and screens, how do you get your children to really enjoy writing? Because writing is for all ages. It's not just kids. And so it's important that we learn and appreciate how to do this, because writing is a way that we communicate. Writing is a way, I mean, think of times when civilizations didn't have a way to write down their stories, right? The earliest version of a story we have are the cuneiform tablets, which the Epic of Gilgamesh was written on thousands of years ago. Ways that people were able to record their stories. It's a reason why we have history of certain civilizations that no longer exist, because they wrote down their stories. We were able to unlock their language and learn all about them. Well, that's what we're doing with our stories. Um, Good morning, Whitney. Oh my goodness. You've got to, so say, you've been writing every week for the past 5 years, but not the way you like to write. It's more academic. You don't like it. And starting next semester, you're teaching composition to nursing students. You're looking forward to getting back to the basics. None of them know how to write with a pen and paper. They all type their notes. When you write on the whiteboard in cursive, they often get a little lost. They print. Remember the Palmer method? Yes, I do, Whitney. And we're at a time in history where we have generations of people coming up behind us who don't know the art of handwriting. When you read in the Bible that Jesus wrote in the sand, you think he was just doing that to kill time? You think he was just doodling for the, maybe he was, but he was also writing. Gosh, I wish Instagram worked back then, right? You could have someone Instagramming when Jesus wrote in the sand. What was he writing? Why was he doing it? Was it a way to physically show them words? Maybe to get a thought out? But see, we're losing that art of writing. And what happens? What happens to a generation and the power goes off? And they're only used to typing on a screen. The lost art of handwriting. So, handwriting is so important. So, how do we encourage people to do this? Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips because these work for kids, but they also work for other, people who are grown who maybe have not had a chance to really learn how to handwrite. Okay, so here I'm going to give you 10 tips, 10 things you can do to help get back to the basics of writing because when we're trying to teach someone something and show them something, right? We can physically show them. I can show you my mugs. I can show you how I make coffee. But if I want to leave instructions for someone and I've got to have a way to do that, and I don't have a screen or they don't have a screen, how do I communicate that? Well, here are some things you can do. First of all, keep writing supplies on hand. If you have kids, you know, maybe they have colored pencils. Maybe they have markers. Maybe it's crayons. Give them a tactile something to write with, right? And then, yes, I know we have screens and yes, I know we have things, but there's nothing like a good pad of paper, right? This is just a things to do list that I have. But they're pieces of paper, right? How many of you have been somewhere and you need to write something down and you have it on your phone, but what happens when your phone battery dies? What happens if this turns off, right? So keep writing supplies on hand. It's important. Keep them around. And like I said, for kids, make it fun. Give them colored pencils, give them crayons, give them pastels, give them things that they can physically and in a tactile manner use to write with. Whitney, if your students have never written on a whiteboard, have them come and stand up and write on a board. Have them practice it, right? Have them try. It's an interesting thing that you're having to do this and you're dealing with the nursing students who don't know how to write. Now, here's something that you may already do. I want you to think about this in an intentional manner. I always encourage my authors and people that I work with to journal write. To journal write. Now, yes, you can do this in notes on your phone. You can do this in Evernote. You can use your Notes app. There's lots of apps that you can use. But also, keep a physical journal. Keep a journal that you handwrite in. Something that is not accessible, and especially something that someone can hack and either because what if you journal everything online and then that app or something happens and you get hacked? You lose all that information. So journal, journal it, write it down, write it in, and do it every day. Even if you're just writing about your day. I mean, I tell people that I work with, I see you posting out there on the socials. You're posting. You spend lots of time posting. I do that too, but I have concentrated times where I sit down and I plan out what I'm going to post, what I'm going to share, beyond just the things that I share with photos and stuff. But journal, write it down, do it every day. Even if you write, I have nothing going on today. I'm kind of bored, nothing really going on, but I wanted to write this down because some days are like this. That may be all that you write, but do it anyway. Journal. Now, here's another fun thing you can do. Um, Use a chalkboard or create a message board. Like get a bulletin board in your house somewhere and make that a message board. Whether you're writing messages to yourself or maybe you're writing messages to your family. If you're a parent and you have a playroom or there's chalkboard paint. There's chalkboard paint that you can put on the wall and have where your children can write and draw and be creative every day. That's the importance of it. Use a chalkboard for yourself or create a message board that you update regularly with things you're thinking about, stories that are important to you, affirmations that you want to encourage yourself with. Write those and put those up so that they can be seen. It's important. Now, here's something that is a truly a lost art. Write letters. Even if you write letters to yourself, write letters to someone. The art of sending a message to someone through the postal mail, it's a lost art. It is increasingly waning over the years. In the last 20 years, we've lost the ability to write letters and cards. Do you still do that? It's a way to handwrite a person's address on an envelope. And with all of the problems that we had, given our politicians and just the horrible way that the postal service was maligned, treated, and organized. The people at the top who run it purposely wanted to gut the postal service, the institution that has been so important to the way that communication travels between people for so long. Yes, does it travel electronically? Sure. Yes, do we send emails? Sure, we do. But a physical letter, how do you feel when you get a handwritten card or letter in the mail from somebody, right? The personal touch of their handwriting being sent to you. So encourage your kids, or maybe you write a personal letter to someone, send it to them. Really take time to make it pretty. Insert something in there. Maybe it's a bookmark. Maybe it's a fun little sticker. I have these little stickers that are so fun. The book was better. I love that. Just sending fun little things like that. So important. Now, another way that you can encourage writing is seeking out writing prompts. I occasionally post writing prompts, a series of writing prompts. I'll be doing that again in the month of September because September is going to be story time. It's going to be story time in September. And I'm going to be focusing on writing stories, crafting stories, telling stories. So I'll be sharing some writing prompts to help you maybe get started. As Stephanie was saying earlier, get past those writing blocks. But writing prompts, find a place where you can get regular writing prompts that help spark your creativity. For your kids, there are lots of different places. Scholastic has some great writing prompts. Check with your kids' teachers. Maybe there are some writing prompts that they're working on in the classroom that you can help them with. It's a great way to get that. You love that idea. You bought a board recently. Okay. You actually have a wax stamp. You need to send letters. You still have all your letters from college. Yes, Stephanie. And having a wax stamp, how cool is that? To be able to stamp those letters personally and have those go out to someone. Those kinds of things are treasured because we all get emails, right? We all get emails and we delete them. Maybe some of them we save, but we can't really hold them or touch them or feel them. We read them on a screen, but then they're gone. There's something about a personal card and letter that makes it just feel so much more important. Um, okay, so we're talking about letters, we're talking about letter writing. Yes, these might be some antiquated things. Like Stephanie said, create a storyboard. Do you have an idea for a story? When you think about um, writers who are creating scripts and screenplays, right? They receive Academy Awards for writing, but they do what's called storyboarding. They storyboard it because they want to see the story start to take shape. They can see and one of my writing mentors, John Acuff, does this with really large post-it notes on the wall, and he works on his story, and he can see it come to fruition by storyboarding it. So create a storyboard. Are you wanting to tell a story? Even if you're working with a team of professionals and you're trying to get them to understand the overall concepts that you're going to be sharing, you can create a storyboard. You can sort of visually help them get an idea of what you'll be working on and it helps by creating a storyboard. The next tip I'm going to share is read before writing. Read, I can't tell you how important it is to read because you're reading another author's work, you're seeing how they write, and it helps your mind get ready to think in terms of writing. So read. Read something. Read a good book. Read good articles. It's really important to read because through reading, we learn important things. I've got a couple of books that I want to read a little blurb out of to you from some writers who know their craft. One of them, one of the books I can highly recommend about writing is Bird by Bird by Lamott. And she gives some great instructions on writing, on how to write, but also talks about life. And so in her book, when she talks to her students, she says, the very first thing I tell my students on the first day of a workshop is that good writing is about telling the truth. We are a species that needs and wants to understand who we are. We have much that we want to say and figure out. And year after year, my students are bursting with stories to tell, and they start writing projects with this excitement and maybe even joy. Finally, their voices will be heard, and they are going to get to devote themselves to the one thing that they've longed to do since childhood. But after a few days at the desk, telling the truth in an interesting way turns out to be about as easy and pleasurable as bathing a cat. Some lose their faith. Their sense of self and story shatters and crumbles to the ground. Historically, they show up for the first day of the workshop looking like bright, goofy ducklings who will follow me anywhere. But by the time the second class rolls around, they look to me as if the engagement is definitely off. I don't even know where to start, one will wail. And she gives you different things. She said, start with your childhood, talk about that. She said, you might want to start writing down every single thing you can remember from your first years at school. If this doesn't pan out, set on focusing on holidays and big events that help you recollect your life as it was. Remember that you own what has happened to you. What kind of story do you have to tell about your own life? So telling the truth. And Lord knows that's a big problem these days with the misinformation that is out there. And see, writing is powerful. Even bad writing and misinformation is powerful. It's what has caused such a rift in our nation and has people out there believing things that are absolutely not true. Another great book that you can read about writing is called On Writing by Stephen King. And this is a memoir of his life, but also in how he became a writer. So here is something that he wrote and he talked about. He talked about him and I believe one of his cousins helping his uncle, who was a carpenter. And he talked about how that there were broken screen doors and then so his uncle, he and his cousin had to get their uncle's toolbox. And when they went to go get it, it was in a place in the garage. And each one of the boys had to pick up and hold the handles because it was so full of tools and bring it to their uncle who was going to fix the door. And he says, so in here he says, when the screen was secure, Uncle Orrin gave me the screwdriver and told me to put it back in the toolbox and latch her up. I did, but I was puzzled. I asked him why he'd lugged Faz's toolbox, Faza was their grandfather, Faz's toolbox all the way around the house if all he needed was that one screwdriver. He could have carried a screwdriver in the back pocket of his pants. Yes, but Stevie, he said as he bent to grasp the toolbox handles, I didn't know what else I might find to do once I got out here, did I? It's best to have your tools with you. If you don't, you're apt to find something you didn't expect and get discouraged. I want to suggest that to write to your best abilities, it behooves you to construct your own toolbox and then build up enough muscle so that you can carry it with you. So what does he mean by a toolbox? Well, he said the commonest of all tools, the bread of writing, is vocabulary. How do you increase your vocabulary? You read. Remember when I said read for writing? Because when we read, a lot of times we learn new words. How many of you have learned a new word or two or five or several through the things that you read, right? So you learn vocabulary. And then he said the next one is, so here's some interesting things. Like he says, um, some writers have enormous vocabularies. These are folks who would know if there really is such a thing as an insalubrious dithyramb or a cozening raconteur. People who haven't missed a multiple choice answer in Wilfred Funk's It Pays to Increase Your Word Power in, oh, say, 30 years or so. Here's an example. This is from H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. The leathery, undeteriorative, and almost indestructible quality was an inherent attribute of the thing's form of organization and pertained to some Paleogean cycle of invertebrate evolution utterly beyond our powers of speculation. Those are some choice words. But then other writers use often very easy and similar and simpler vocabularies. For example, Ernest Hemingway from Big Two-Hearted River. He came to the river. The river was there. Or how about this? Here's an interesting sentence. This is from John Steinbeck from The Grapes of Wrath. Some of the owner men were kind because they hated what they had to do, and some of them were angry because they hated to be cruel, and some of them were cold because they had long ago found that one could not be an owner unless one were cold. Now, think about that sentence I just read you, and let me explain a little bit about it. He says the Steinbeck sentence is especially interesting. It's 50 words long. Of those 50 words, 39 have one syllable. That leaves 11 words, but even that number is deceptive. Steinbeck uses the word because 3 times, owner twice, and hated twice. There is no word longer than 2 syllables in the entire sentence. The structure is complex, but the vocabulary is not far removed from the old Dick and Jane primers. Okay, so vocabulary. Simple vocabulary, complicated vocabulary. But by that, we learn words and add to our vocabulary that help us come up with new ways of saying things. And we learn that through reading. And again, number 8, create your own storybook. So I had a fun story pop up the other day in book club. One of our book club members, Kay, she has a son, young son who's preschool age, and so he has a book series, a kids book series that he loves to read. She said he reads them over and over all the time. And there was an opportunity for them as they were on vacation that this author of the book series that her son enjoyed was going to be at an event. He was either at a bookstore or a library or something. And he was so excited that Ben created his own little storybook. And he made it, and they put it together. And Kay said, we're going to have to stop at Staples on the way and get this done and bound and everything. So he created a little storybook. He was so excited when he saw his favorite author, and he gave him his book. And so then the author not only sat down with Ben and talked to him, but when Kay bought the entire series, the author autographed every book in the series and wrote a different note to Ben in each one. How about that? Isn't that a sweet story, Milo? Isn't that great? All because Ben created his own little storybook. So create your own little starting storybook. You don't have to worry about getting it mass produced or printed right now. Start with something simple. Did you ever do that? Did you ever used to take like pieces of paper and fold them in half, right? And use a stapler staple it down, and then have like all your pages and wrote different things. Did you ever do that in school? We used to do that all the time. You made your own little storybooks. So maybe do that as a way of starting your own storybook idea for the book that you may want to publish someday. Where do you want the pictures? Start creating that. Visually capture that. Oh, you are welcome. Yes, Jan, absolutely. It's important to try to write those things down. Listen, Stephanie, it was so cute when she shared that with us in book club. We all were just like, oh, this is so amazing, right? And that's exactly what we want to do, because she is encouraging her son to start writing his own stories. And, and don't you know how many times, maybe I should write a story about Milo and put Milo in that story. Huh? Milo, would you like to tell your story? I don't know that Milo seems that interested in the story. Now, here's another thing you can do with your children is encourage enthusiasm for writing with imaginative play. You can do that yourself. When was the last time you took yourself out, did something fun, and used your imagination during that time? That's where great story ideas come from. So let your kids practice with imaginative play. Do they love watching cartoons on Saturday? Maybe they can create a scene from one of their favorite stories, right? And act it out. And then after they act it out, have them write it down. What did they do differently? What are some cool things they would have the character say? And this is something you can do. Here's something that's imaginative play for you. Next time you're in a restaurant or a coffee shop, and do this without being weird, of course, but look at the people around you and imagine what their conversations are like. You have lots of different character types in the coffee shop or in the restaurant. Imagine what it would be like if you were to script out their conversations that they're having with little speech bubbles, right? You could you could be sitting there drawing and writing and do that. It's a way for you to spark your creativity by imagining the conversations that are going on in a coffee shop, right? Huge, huge. It's a way to stimulate your brain and to be creative, to stretch out those imaginative thoughts, stretch way out there, get creative, and bring them back down so that you can write about them, right? That's right, Milo. And Milo's doing what I try to do, and this is my 10th point. Be be your kid's biggest cheerleader, be your biggest cheerleader. Milo is certainly my cheerleader. Yes, you are. He comes in here and loves on me when I'm writing. He loves on me when I'm working. He encourages me. Yes, he does. He's my biggest cheerleader. I want to be your cheerleader. How can I help you tell your story, craft your story, write your story? So these are some of the basics that you can get to when it comes to, and I'll be sharing these. If you would like to get all of these, I'll be sharing these in a post, and I'll also be sending these out in my newsletter this weekend. But I hope that this has helped you sort of spark some creativity in your own mind, because really, writing is something we all do, something we all can do. It's something that we do every day. So I want you to get intentional about it and share your stories and help others learn how to share theirs. Now, here are some fun things. Guys, there's lots of books coming up. I can't wait. September is going to be so fun. Next week, I'm going to be in a conference all next week. It is the Podcast Movement Conference. Talk about a conference where stories are going on. I am going to be surrounded all next week with podcasters from around the globe, learning about story, crafting stories, telling stories. And I can't wait, because next Saturday, we're going to talk about getting back to the basics of storytelling. You really want to write a story. How do you do that? Do you realize that your personal bio is a story about yourself? So, how do you write your bio? Let's start with that, right? Because if you're going to be putting anything out there, whether you have a website or if you're an author, every author has a bio that goes in their book, right? This is John Acuff's book, and John has a bio in his book, right? All authors in their books. This is the book that we're reading for book club this month. Really good, by the way. I just finished it this week, and oh my gosh, so good. Well, the author has a bio, right, in the book. And on their websites, they have bios. So that tells a little bit of a story about who they are and what they do and the kind of work that they put out as a writer. If you're submitting a resume, you're writing up your bio and summarizing all the work you've done so that you can convince someone that you're the perfect candidate for a job. These are all parts of our story. And speaking of story, if you have read John Acuff's book called Soundtracks, this is a great book that helps us deal with those mental soundtracks that we play that stop us from doing our best work. And what I'm really excited about is that he's come out with a student version. You know, when John did the book Soundtracks, a lot of us talked about, gosh, John, I really wish you had a version for kids because this is his encouragement and his tips on what we could do writing was so good that a lot of people said, "Hey, you really need to make a kids version." Well, um, John has two teenage daughters, and gosh, I can't believe his daughter Ellie is starting college this year, and McCrae is in high school. And when I first met those girls, they were like 7 and 5. Oh, so cute. And now they're big, and they are working with their dad, and they have created a student version of Soundtracks, and I'm so excited. So this is one of the books that's coming out in September. I can't wait. I'll be talking about this more when it comes out, but I really want to. Here we go. Let me show you. I got to get my screen sharing thing down a little better. Sometimes it's hard. Here we go. I'm going to share this picture with you of the book cover. I'm super excited about it. If you have students and or you have kiddos, or even if you want to give this as a gift. So this is the new book that's coming out by John, written by him and his two daughters, Ellie and McCrae. And it's called Your New Playlist, the student's guide to tapping into the superpower of mindset. They wrote a book with their dad. John sat down with them and he took his Soundtracks book and asked his daughters, "Hey, how could I make this into a form that students would like?" Well, guess what, guys? Here it is, Your New Playlist. So this is going to be a book that I'll be talking about in September that is for students. So if you have students, you'll definitely want to grab a copy of this. This is going to be so helpful for kids who are wanting to tap into, and especially with what our kids are facing now in school, their mindsets need to be in the right place so that they can not only learn, but they can maximize their full potential, right? So I'm really excited about this book coming out. So again, we'll be talking about story writing. We'll be talking about story building. I can't wait to share that with you. Also, if you would like to get in on the book club, we are reading this book. We'll be talking about it the last Tuesday of the month, and then I will be sharing our new book club pick. So next Saturday, you definitely want to tune in if you want to find out what the new book club pick is, or if you want to get a jump start and find out more about the book club, how you can join, what we're going to be reading, you can do that. You can contact me here at LanaeHarden.com/contact. You can let me know if maybe you're thinking about writing or fine tuning your writing and you'd like to get a little more concentrated help. Maybe you have something you've already written that you would maybe like to have looked at. Maybe we can sit down for 30 minutes over coffee and just chat about some of your writing projects. Let me know. you can do that here, ronaeharden.com/contact. Let me know how I can help you tap into your writing potential. Or even if you just need some encouragement, that's what I'm here for. But more importantly, let me know how I can share my best with you and help you tap into your writing potential, right? And especially our kiddos. Lots going on in their world. We really need to help support them. So let me know how I can do that. And don't forget, next Saturday, we're going to be talking about the power of story building. And I'm going to be talking a lot about it in the podcast form because this show is going to be taking a little bit of a different turn from 2023. I've been live streaming on social media now for almost, let's see, I started in 2014, so it's been 8 years. 8 years of live streaming and sharing my content. However, given everything that happens with social media platforms, with the changes that they all go through, the changes in the algorithm, sometimes people don't see your posts. People don't get to tap into your story. So, what's a way we can truly engage? Well, I'll be taking that and my show in a little bit of a different format come 2023. So, I'll still be live streaming some, but I'm venturing out into new areas, trying some new things, because again, we want to keep our chops fresh. We want to keep our skills fresh. And we want to keep writing and sharing our story in all the ways possible, right? So I'm looking forward to that. So September is going to be fun. It's going to be story time in September. Then it's going to be my birthday month, Rocktober. Believe it or not, guys, we're going to be coming into the last quarter of 2023. Are you ready? Like 2023 is in 4 months. You realize that? Just take a breath here, shall we? Where did the year go? Where did summer go? Summer, come back. Come back. Come back. Um, where did it go? Time is passing. It's not passing too fast. We have exactly the right amount of time we need every day to do what we need to do. I hope you take a little bit of that time and you're savoring every minute by writing down your story because we'll be here today, but someday we'll be gone. And what we leave behind, our legacy, the little contribution that we've left behind to make life better for others and to share our story. It's important. I hope you're starting to write yours down because I can't wait to read yours. So, guys, thanks so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Get out there and share your awesomeness with someone today. You never know the impact that you'll have on another person's story by simply sharing yours. Okay? So, don't forget, hit me up right here if you want to schedule some time, have coffee, talk about your story. You need some help with your story, or just want to ask some questions about how you might start the process of sharing and publishing your story. I'm telling you, it's like anything else. It's work. But once you do it, once you get to hold your book in your hand, once you get to see your stories out there published, and more importantly, once you get to see the impact that your story is having on others, you'll want to do it again. So, guys, take care. I hope that you have been encouraged by what I've shared with you today. If you need a little bit of encouragement, let me know. I'm here to support you and help you tell your best story. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. Please tune in back here next Saturday where we talk about the importance and the joy and the beauty of the different forms of storytelling that are out there. I can't wait to share all of my things going on at the podcast conference. And if you would like to follow along, you can join me on Instagram at Ronnie Harden. I'm going to be updating from the conference and sharing all the kind of things that I'm learning there. I can't wait to share them with you. And if you want to catch any of the previous shows that I've done, you can always go to my YouTube channel here at youtube.com/Ronnie Harden. You can go back, see all the live streams I've done, catch up on some old stories, and tune in for the new stories. Thanks to everyone who's joined live, and if you're watching via replay, again, thank you. taking a minute, sharing some coffee with me. Have a blessed day. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you back here next Saturday, okay? Take care.